I use various methods in teaching English. It depends on mostly on the topic or all the things that we are doing in the lesson. So basically, all these three methods I have used previously, but I did not call them with this name. For instance, flipped lesson was useful for reading tutorials. Then a debate is always very useful in using in starting conversations and making our students use English more actively. Then if we do a new text, then reading is obligatory, talking about and discussing the text also. If we do grammar, then we have to practice and do the exercises. Digital technology is very common in using that. For instance, my students love Kahoots, they love PowerPoint presentations, they love making them. Also, just going to the whiteboard and solving exercises and drawing is also very interesting thing for them to do. Well, when we do a new lesson, I always keep asking students questions related to the lesson, to the thing that we are doing. So I always know whether they understood it or not. Apart from that, I use like rubrics from the metacognitive method. So if we do like a written assignment, so after it I give them a self-assessment table, and so in a way that puts them in charge of their studying and of the way as a way to self-analyze themselves, so they see what mistakes they did. Sometimes I even put their sentences, wrong sentences, on a PowerPoint presentation, so they have to find their own mistakes, they as a whole, as a class. So I think that's also a fun way to learn and relearn things in English. The way I could improve my teaching methods, well, teaching as a profession is a specific profession, so you live and you learn every day. I always read new things. I talk to my colleagues, so we get new ideas from each other. I Google new methods. But I think that's it's very important to ask your students about their interests, about the things that they like. So if you merge their interests with your teaching, then I think you are very close to success. I think that flipped classroom can be useful in some topics. For instance, in reading tutorials in English. And perhaps they could have more time to fathom some concepts on their own. But generally, I don't think that role of the teacher is diminished with applying flipped classroom methodology, but in fact, it's only increased because you are the person who has to do everything and organize everything together, and then also be like a huge motivator for your students to do those things at home and then again in the class as well. So a teacher always has to be present. Debate can absolutely improve critical thinking. It encourages children, that is our students, to think quickly, to defend their stance, and also it teaches them to improve their communication skills, which are sometimes very low. Well, I think that the context and contest methodology is very interesting and useful, but maybe the context part would come in handy more in subjects like history or geography. In English, I see it more for literature part than for the language itself, but it can be very useful. But what I find to be very motivating for our students is the contest part. So because they absolutely love competing, they love Kahoots, they love any basically thing that has to do with two teams or somebody winning, and they will be in for it. Well, metacognitive approach is absolutely necessary for those children, those students who are not aware of their skills of studying, how to say. So it actually helps students to reach some level of awareness of what you are doing every day. So how to organize yourself, how to start doing your work, how to be well, how to be ready for everything and prepared. So I think it definitely allows students to make a more active role in the learning process, and I hope that they will get something out of it, not just, oh, another table or another rubric that I have to fill in. Well, each of these methodologies had their own benefits and drawbacks. But I think mostly all drawbacks are connected with the level of motivation of your students. So if you have highly motivated students, I'm pretty sure that all of these methods would be wildly successful. But if you have students that are not that keen on working and being active in the lesson itself, then definitely there will be some serious drawbacks. I think that the most useful methodology of these was definitely for English language, the debate, because if you provide your students with some topic that they are really keen on discussing, then it really turns out great. Did not have any drawbacks. Then context and contest was also very useful, but again, I think that the contest part was definitely more interesting to my students than the context. So contest was their favorite. Then the flipped lesson is a bit problematic because students do have to do everything at home, and if they are not prepared, then this whole idea of flipped classroom fails. So it's very important to prepare the students before that and to motivate them in a way so it succeeds. And the last method was what was it? Metacognition. Metacognitive method. It's very useful, but it's not. It just uses. It's used as I would say, like a leitmotif of studying process. It's not something with which you will start a new lesson. It's just like, hey, this is how you should study, or hey, you're not learning this well, you have to change something. So it's more like bringing self-awareness to the lesson, to the way they study, and to maybe to grow better habits in learning and studying. Well, these four methodologies will help students work better. I think that the best method for for enhancing group work, and especially communication skills, is definitely the debate. So that will absolutely be very useful. The other methods, well, they are also very helpful, but I think that the debate is my personal favorite. And also I saw direct influence of that spark in their eyes when they had topics that they found interesting. So if we provide a very interesting team, something to instigate the flame of interest in their teenage souls, then I think they will be very interested in English and all subjects for that matter.